Hello again. All right, so I said I'll do the deeper version of the talk for Nightmare 2. But yeah, so this is it. This one is one that's, yeah, for obvious reasons, the gay one. And it's, when I watch, I'm like, this is, yeah, no, this is that. Um, where there's the whole subtext of a dude in the 80s worried about like there's a monster inside him that wants to come out and he's afraid of it. Um, it's very apropos. Like that's something that's been around since like Wolfman era or like Dorian Gray kind of stuff. Like that's classic imagery. Um, then you also have the other instances like there's just a lot of like shots. It's like okay, like when they're having to do push-ups like out in the field. Like there's a lot of images. Like okay, I see where you're going with this. I see what you're doing. Um, or like him having the dream where he goes to, I guess, dream. I'm not sure how that one worked. That was the reality issue. But when he goes to the leather bar and then meets up with his teacher, and the teacher brings him back to school, gets him to run, take a shower, and the teacher dies from being whipped, towel whipped, and balls being sports balls being tossed at him. It's like, yeah, no, I get, and perhaps infamously, like the most famous bit is him going to his best friend and saying like, I have this issue, I have this problem, I'm afraid for my life. Can I sleep with you tonight? And he asks, he's like, so you'd rather be with me than with your girlfriend? Like, it's not even like subtext. It's just text. Um, and then of course after that he kills his friend and the monster comes out and stuff like that's pure text. I love that. Even like the shot when he's doing the dancing, he's like hitting the dresser with his butt. It's like this is 100% the case. And the main actor, he turned out to be like he is gay. Like he eventually got out and stuff, or like out of him, like revealed himself. It was like, yeah, no, duh. Um, and I feel like within a series like this, having a movie like that, especially in the second one, is very interesting. And this is what I was kind of getting at in my first review, saying that the later iterations of Freddy, in light of this movie, is very interesting because they had a game movie, and it's probably like people probably knew, and then they decided to make Freddy a child lover, let's say. I don't know what would get me YouTube trouble, but yeah, let's say that. And having that, like, because that's a very old stereotype with gay community is gay, child predator. Like, that's a sense it's like the 50s. So, and since the 80s was a return to the 50s, that's not that surprising. Um, and so, like, that kind of rubs me the wrong way. Like, not really rubs me the wrong way, but I find it, like, noticeably interesting. Um, it, but also, like I said, like, having a final guy is very unique. Um, oh, yeah, well, if I was going to say a death in this, the teacher's death. Um, that's important because I forgot to mention the other review, the actual review video. But I would say the teacher's death's the most noticeable one. Maybe his friend, because it comes right after that is when Freddy's coming out of him. Um, I think it was Mark. I should have looked it up, but whatever. Um, I think I would say probably the teacher's the main death that I remember from this. And like I guess Freddy's party too. Like when he attacks the party, kills a few people and says, "You're all my children now," which also is very interesting. Um, but this being, yeah, like a Reagan era movie is very like a heavy gay movie coming out in the Reagan era with a icon who became synonymous with the Reagan era is very interesting to me. Um, but also, it's worth noting, and I'll bring this up in part three. But the leap from dealing with latent or like closet homosexualness to having to go to a treatment facility for various reasons is also not lost on me. I find that very interesting. I don't know if they're making these choices, if they were making these choices on purpose or not. Um, if so, and very unique, very cool. If it's just an accident, very coincidental, interesting accident. But either way, I love this one. It was one of the first big ones I've seen. It was the first real gay horror I saw. Yeah, I saw Rocky Horror and technically Little Shop and stuff, but those weren't like horror. Well, and Psycho and technically Birds. So like a few Hitchcock movies, but like in terms of like horror, like what most people would say horror. Yeah, because like by the time I had seen, I keep thinking about it, by the time I had seen Freddy's Revenge, I had seen probably the two other really big ones of note at like in terms of like the public consciousness being Psycho and Silence of the Lambs, for better or worse, probably worse, honestly. Um, and I would argue the Birds, but if I ever review the Birds, well, I'll get into that one. But uh, but this is the first really big one. So that was important to me. But yeah, I really like this one. Till next time.